Cloud hosting infrastructure explained through Amazon AWS concepts. So AWS has what is known as a global infrastructure made up of physical infrastructure. And this physical infrastructure spans worldwide into areas known as regions. Now, these worldwide regions are geographic locations where AWS hosts their data centers. Additionally, these AWS regions have standard naming conventions, which is formatted as its geographical name and its region code. For example, US-East-1 would be the first region created in eastern USA, North Virginia. And as another common example, EU-West-2 is a second region created in Europe, which is London. Now, there is a very important technical keynote to remember in that AWS regions are independent from one another. This means AWS will not replicate data from one region to another unless a customer explicitly gives their consent and authorization for such data to be copied across regions. And as for regions, AWS currently has quite a few, from Asia, Pacific, China, Europe, Middle East, North America, and even South America. Now, when deciding which AWS region to host your application or services, there are 4 important aspects to consider, being latency, pricing, service availability, and data compliance. However, I won't deep dive into these as these are quite self-explanatory concepts. So, moving on, now we understand what a region is, illustrated by the green circles across the world. Inside each region, there is something known as an availability zone, AZ. And an AZ consists of one or more data centers with redundant power, networking, and connectivity. Now, these data centers operate in discrete facilities in undisclosed locations. And these data centers within the availability zone are connected using redundant, high-speed, and low-latency links. Now, the US East 1 is an interesting location, being the North Virginia site, and is a popular known AWS location. In fact, the AWS data center in North Virginia is even on Google, which looks something like this. But not all data centers will be that popular, and many will be unknown or not even obvious to general civilians. So whilst we may know that one data center within the availability zone is the North Virginia data center, this may just be one data center, but remember there is more than one data center within an availability zone. And the specific locations of those other data centers may not even be known, other than the fact that the region is probably somewhere close to where the availability zone is. And on this point, it's worth noting that availability zones, just like regions, have code names. These are usually a letter appended at the end of the region code. For example, US-East-1 may have a letter A appended at the end, or a letter B, which will indicate availability zone A or availability zone B. And again, to recap, an availability zone consists of one or more data centers, as drawn here, where you have data center 1, data center 2, and data center 3. Of course, there may be more or less than this, but the key is one or more at a minimum. And the reason for this is a very important concept known as redundancy. For example, let's say data center 1 in the availability zone went down or failed. Then the redundant high-speed link of data center 2 or data center 3 would simply just kick in its place. And this is why AWS data centers are clustered together around the world, and this cluster forms what is known as the availability zone, AZ. And the whole concept of this availability zone is to provide the technical keyword known as redundancy. Another important concept and service in Amazon AWS that I want to touch upon is edge locations or edge computing. But in order to fully understand edge computing, I will have to touch upon another concept, being latency, which was also a key consideration when considering your region from earlier in the video. Now, latency is basically how close your IT resources are to your user base. The closer, the less latency. The further away, the more latency in general. So if you are hosting your web app or service in the USA in the North Virginia region, and say your user was accessing this app through the Brazil region, this region would obviously be a slight delay, and therefore a latency or lag would occur. But AWS, through its AWS Global Infrastructure, have already found a solution to this latency problem. The solution is what is known as edge locations, which are located across many different regions worldwide. And these edge locations are in addition to the region locations discussed earlier in this video, highlighted in green, and the edge locations in blue. And you can think of the edge locations complementing the region locations. And the way edge locations work is through a concept of edge caching. But before we talk about caching, let's deep dive into the current problem. Assuming our website or web app was hosted in the USA region in North Virginia and the user was located in the land down under, all the way in Australia, and wanted to access this same web app. But there would be a high latency due to the difference in regions. And so the loading of the web app or service would be very slow. And this is where edge caching comes into play. You see, with AWS having a global infrastructure which consists of many edge locations across the world, this means that even if the web app or service is hosted in the USA in North Virginia, then the requesting users, especially those in faraway regions, don't have to always just go straight to the USA region. Instead, they can use their local edge location caches. And this, in turn, would greatly reduce the latency. Now, these edge location caches may be in the same region or a region very close by, but either way, it will be a lot quicker than going to the USA, for example. That is in cases where the region is far away from the USA, but if the user was in the USA within the same region or nearby, the latency would not necessarily be as big as an issue. So all these edge locations keep a copy or cache of the web app or web service that is from the USA region and keeps it in local nearby regions scattered across the world, which in turn reduces latency. And within Amazon AWS, this edge caching location service is known as CloudFront. If you found today's video informative, please be sure to like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth. As without your support, this channel cannot grow and reach larger and larger audiences in the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you would like to see more content like this, it would be super fantastic if you could leave a like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth.